Look, I get it. I understand. Looking at how simple this game is, I can understand how someone would think I was crazy for being able to play it all day long when I was a kid. We live in an age where every system pushes every limit to make every game as realistic as possible. But this wasn't always the case. The average age of people to play video games is getting older and older. It's not just kids anymore. It's their parents and even their grandparents. So know your roots. Look back with me at one of the all-time greats. It's called Berzerk for the Atari 2600. The arcade version of Berzerk was ported to the 2600 in 1982. The game Berzerk was named for Fred Saberhagen's Berzerker series of science fiction novels. This is a story about androids that were driven to destroy the human race. The game was programmed by Alan McNeil, and the idea for Berzerk came from one of Alan's dreams, where he dreamt of a black and white video game with fighting robots. The black and white game was quickly abandoned though. Defender was released earlier that year in full color, and it was hugely successful. The gameplay of Berzerk for the Atari 2600 is pretty straightforward. It's kind of the grandfather of all action shooters. You just run from room to room, you avoid electrified walls, you shoot robots, and you avoid one of the most hated villains of all time, the smiling, evil Otto. If you take too long on any level, he'll come for you, and he won't stop till his smiling face is jumping up and down on your dead corpse. Evil Otto. What a bastard. And when I say evil in Evil Otto, that's not being descriptive. His name is evil. Apparently, Evil Otto was named after Dave Otto, a security chief at McNeil's former employer, Dave Nutting Associates. McNeil said that Otto would smile while he chewed you out, he would lock McNeil and his fellow employees out of the building to enforce noon lunch hours, and he would also pipe music into every single room whether you wanted to hear it or not. There's a good lesson here. Don't be a jerk. There's a lot of people out there that feel that Evil Otto is the greatest video game villain of all time. He's relentless, he's indestructible, and he always is smiling even while he's killing you. To give you an idea of the scale of Berzerk, it's 64,000 rooms. Let me repeat that. There are 64,000 rooms in Berzerk. So clearly the point is not to beat the game, it's clearly just to get the highest score. Regardless though, that's still a massive amount of gameplay to be put in an Atari 2600 cartridge. Using a dip switch on the console, the Atari 2600 version of Berzerk, you could change game modes. There were different kinds of Berzerk you could play, each with their own set of rules. There were 12 game modes in all. Really the only game mode that you want to avoid is don't play game 12. This is viewed as the children's version of the game. There's no Evil Otto, the robots don't shoot at you, and you win a bonus life every 1,000 points. So if you're the biggest wuss on the planet, play that version. Otherwise, if you're a real gamer, don't get caught playing it. That's just a little embarrassing. The Atari 5200 version of Berzerk was the only home console release to include digitized speech, like the arcade version. In 2002, the Atari 2600 version of Berzerk was hacked and improved by Mike Micah. He released a version of the ROM that included speech on a 2600 game. It was simple, but think about that for a second. It actually has speech on an Atari 2600 game. It's extremely impressive. Mike also edited the color scheme of Berzerk so that the Atari 2600 game would better match the arcade version. The song you've been listening to was released in 1982 by Buckner and Garcia. It's off their Pac-Man Fever album, and it's called Goin' Berzerk. If you've never heard the Pac-Man Fever album, definitely check it out. It's kind of a guilty pleasure of mine. It screams, and it's just everything that's crazy about the 80s, but you listen to it, and it's just so over the top, it's awesome. Now I'm going to close here with some good tips on how to survive a little bit longer the next time you play Berzerk. Number 1, learn how to shoot from angles. It's the safest way to go. Number 2, if the robots kill themselves, they're worth the same amount of points. So let them do it. This game is well known for having extremely stupid robots. Let them kill themselves and make your job easier. Number 3, when you enter a room, come out shooting. You never know if they're going to load a robot right next to you. And lastly, number 4, if Evil Otto's on your tail, get the hell out of there. Thanks for watching. For VideoGameSaga.com, this is Tony B, and I'm out. Retry? You know it.